Welcome everybody to the first ever episode of Going for a Two with Shane and Chad. That's Shane, I'm Chad. So in honor of our first episode, man, cheers.
Absolutely. A lot of hard work.
It's been a couple hours, couple long nights that we've been getting this going now, and you guys have been definitely tuning in, give us lots of feedback, which we appreciate. Mm-hmm. We're kind of learning as we go, and we're going to make the best that we can. For some of you guys who don't know us, we've known each other for about 10 years now.
Yeah, I'd say about 10 years, yeah.
I needed a guy in my fantasy football league. He stepped up, and he cleaned house, and I got skunked. And I was not ready for it. I also got hosed in a trade that I thought might salvage my season.
Yeah. Well, we all get that happen to us every once in a while.
So, we got a lot of things to talk about today. One of the big things we're going to talk about is there's no fans this year.
Yep.
And how that's going to react as being the fan. And then, of course, the guys on the field and how that reacts with them. And then just the viewership of how we're going to watch the game.
Right.
After that, we had a bunch of guys who had a lot of money the last couple of weeks. 2 tight ends made a lot of money.
Yep.
We're going to talk about who's getting paid next.
Yep.
And then we got some division winners. What we're thinking might play out of the playoff picture this year. Last week, some big news about all-pro safety.
Yep.
We're going to touch on that. And then last but not least, what is the one thing you're looking for this season? Mm-hmm. So start things off, man. What do you think without watching a game this year, what's going to happen being a fan?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult watching it without any kind of crowd noise, any kind of atmosphere. There's no sideline reporters. They're going to really limit who's on the sideline. So the access that you're used to seeing on whatever channel you're watching it on is just not going to be there. And I mean, it's not like the coaches give any kind of crazy insights when they're running by before halftime, but that part of the game is going to be taken out of it. And how would a player psychologically get motivated for a game? It's going to be difficult. These guys have been playing in front of huge high school stadiums, huge college stadiums, definitely NFL stadiums unless you're in Jacksonville. And how are they going to do it? I don't know. What do you think?
Kind of going to touch on what you said about the guys. Like a lot of them played actually, and some of them played in bigger universities than they do in NFL cities.
Yeah.
You give them the Ohio States, the LSUs, the Alabamas, Notre Dames, Michigan in front of the big house. As much as it pains me to say that.
Makes me barf.
You have 110,000 people there.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be playing in front of nobody. Yes, you get paid. You get paid a lot of money. Is that enough to get you pumped up for a game? I don't think so.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if money is a motivator in a contact sport like that. I mean, you could maybe play tennis with no fans. I've seen golf with no fans. Hockey, I was pretty impressed with the level that those guys were able to get to. I haven't really watched a whole lot of the NBA, but I've heard good things, that things are, like the gameplay has been better, but the games are higher scoring. But how that translates to the NFL, I mean, pumping in the crowd noise is going to be a big thing, and I know that they're talking about doing that. I believe they made that official now. And how are they going to figure out how much crowd noise is okay? Is it going to be crowd noise only the home team pumps it in for the visitors? Because, I mean, that's going to get a little weird. Things are already fishy enough in New England. Yeah. I mean, what's going to happen there?
No, I want to say I don't agree with you. I would love to debate this all day long, but
yeah,
they're going to pump noise in. It's going to be crazy to say, how does that go from being an indoor stadium and a dome to the outdoor stadiums? Mm-hmm. Kind of like we said, though, like the home team, like, are they in control of this?
Right.
Or is it going to be NFL official?
Right.
Now, on top of that, as a fan now, you kind of touched on you won't get the access watching the game.
Right.
Some stadiums and some cities are allowing small percentages to come in and watch the game. As a fan, like, I can't imagine paying that money to go into a stadium. It's an empty stadium.
Right.
You've been in numerous NFL games. I've been in numerous NFL games. It's when you're in there, it's like you literally have 90,000 family members.
Right.
Except for like the cousin you don't like sitting down in front of you wearing the Baltimore jersey in your case.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's going to be like it'd be hard to go watch that game with no one else around you. And like you and I have always said, though, we both agree the best seat is on your own couch.
Right. I mean, the idea of going to the game, a lot of it has to do with the overall tailgating in the parking lot. And I would imagine that there's going to be some kind of safety measure put in place for tailgating.
Like, I want to drink beers with my neighbor.
Right, exactly. Who is going to subsidize that table company in Buffalo when people aren't jumping through tables randomly?
Yeah, I bet you their warehouse is stocked right now.
Yeah, they are upset. And the Bills are going to be a playoff team again. Maybe they'll win the division. We'll talk about it later. We'll see.
That's a far stretch.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to get a home game in the playoffs, but I do see where you're going with that. And then, like, lastly on that note, like, when you are watching the game, and I know you and I had a bunch of conversations, we laugh about it more than anything is.
Yeah.
That game has to be in delay now.
For sure.
I know the things that I said in every sport I ever played growing up. My mother was very disappointed in me when she heard some of those things come out of my mouth. So now as like a fan, like a lot of these games, like they expect to be held to a certain standard where it's PG almost, right?
Right.
Well, it's PG when they can do their mic'd up episodes on NFL Network.
Right.
When they can edit out what is actually being said.
Yeah.
What when you don't actually hear that?
Well, someone's going to have to be really, really good at their job. And the idea that Disney owns ESPN, how far are they going to let Monday Night Football go as far as people being mic'd up, or even without the people being mic'd up, without any crowd noise, you're just going to hear stuff. I mean, you kind of hear stuff as it is, but it's going to be a little bit more clear now.
It's going to be great to hear the receivers when they want that PI call.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't catch a ball, they're already calling for PI.
Right.
And now you're going to hear it the whole way down the field.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, pretty much any quarterback that's not Big Ben or Cam Newton.
Yeah.
When they get hit, are you going to hear you're not going to fucking call that?
Yeah.
And that's what's going to really be weird. Like, we're going to hear that on TV unless they find a way to go into real delay.
Right. And, you're not going to hear the ref say to Tom, go get your avocado toast, it'll be okay. Because that's the first thing I would say if he started cursing at me like that. But hey, he's a winner, so we'll see what happens to him.
All right, going from there, it was last week, 2 weeks ago, I guess, a couple weeks ago, a lot of money got spent on tight ends.
Yeah.
Between Kelsey and Kittle, it was over $120 million, which, coming up in our generation, that is absolutely ludicrous for tight ends.
Yeah.
Like, that is top receiver money.
Yeah.
Who would be next in that category?
I mean, I would see a guy like Zach Ertz as next. The other two guys, it seems like they kind of got paid as middle of the or higher end, but not top high end receivers. But would a guy like Zach Ertz get paid for something like that? And I'm gonna say my answer is no, even though I think he's a tremendous player.
Yeah.
And if the other guys are going to be getting 15 to 17, I mean, Ertz kind of has to be okay with 13 to 14, and Hunter Henry, for example, he's got
franchise this year.
So I mean, that's about 11 million. So you would expect Ertz to make more than him, but when it all comes down to it, it's a cap thing, and the Eagles are usually pretty good with their cap. So I would say Ertz is not going to get paid like a receiver like the other guys, but he is going to make some money.
So now, this is now like, if I'm a receiver,
yeah,
I'm going into my contract year. I want that extension. I want to get paid.
The guys like Juju Smith-Schuster and Chris Godwin.
There are two guys.
Yeah.
I think they're on different ends of the spectrum. As far as how they're going to get paid, I should say.
Right.
But like, what kind of money are they going to ask for, knowing that, well, you just paid a tight end this.
Mm-hmm.
You just paid Amari Cooper this.
Right.
Like, Amari Cooper's got $100 million.
Yeah.
Nothing against Amari Cooper, but I don't think he's as good as Chris Godwin can be.
Right.
In Tampa Bay, I think they're going about it the right way. They're kind of grooming him into the Mike Evans role, kind of like what Mike Evans did to V-Jax.
Right.
And Mike Evans got paid a few years ago. I think he has 3 years left on the contract. So Chris Godwin, they're going to give him, there's no extension there, so they have to pay him.
Right.
He's a third-round pick, so they don't have a choice. They got to pay him now. But that'll give Evans like 2 years left on that contract, and then I imagine they're going to ask him to take that hometown discount or say, well, there's the pasture, man. Thanks for your service.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they can probably afford to put something like that out there because they don't pay anybody on defense right now. So
it's a young defense, man.
Yeah, it's a young. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's probably the right time to be paying the offensive guys, and if they can front load it, then I mean, make it work. But on the other, like the Juju Smith-Schuster side of it, he's he's not going to get paid what he wants from the Steelers. And if he decides to be a Steeler, he's going to be doing it at a discount. As far as cap room goes, they never have any. I mean, if the cap is $200 million, they spend $199.99, and they will leave 1 penny and roll it over into the next year. That's just the way that they've always done it. And I would see Schuster kind of looking like the way that they looked at Mike Wallace, where Mike Wallace was the Steelers' offense for a little bit because he could stretch it out a little bit. But when it came down to it, he asked for a certain price. They actually found a guy named Antonio Brown that worked out a little bit, and they paid him a lot less than they paid Mike Wallace. And
then kind of the same thing. Like, I think Juju needed AB.
Yeah.
It showed this year that Juju wasn't a number one.
Right.
And it's nothing against him.
Yeah, well,
and I think he plays better in a role than what he does as the guy, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, he's going to want to be the guy, and his contract's going to want him to say he is the guy.
Right.
And so it's going to be really tough for a team like Pittsburgh, who spends a lot of money as is, to go out and spend that amount of money. Like, well, we gave you your audition. Like, you have one more year to do it. And outside of that, man, like, I don't know what we're supposed to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, he's a California kid. He'll be with the Rams next year.
Another receiver going away.
Yeah.
All right, talk about the Rams.
Yeah.
We're talking about some division winners. I don't see the Rams being one, but it's an easy transition for to get into the next topic of division winners.
Right.
Starting the NFC, I guess. In the NFC East, I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I like what they have on offense. The O-line, still one of the best in the game. They can run the ball. They can control the clock. Dak is not a $40 million guy.
Right.
I will bang the table all day long saying they better not give that guy $40 million.
Yeah.
They might have to.
Yeah.
But that being said, he knows that this is the year for him. If he doesn't do it this year, he's not getting paid.
Right.
The defense is getting better every year.
Right.
They're probably two of the best inside linebackers in football. They got decent help on the outside, and they can get after the quarterback.
Yeah.
And really, that's a shit division outside of the Eagles, and that's only if Carson stays healthy.
Yeah, and I think I could see the Cowboys having 10 wins and missing the playoffs. The NFC in general is completely loaded, and I think that they have their hands full already with the Eagles in their division, who I think the Eagles are going to win the East. But as far as the teams like Dallas and other fringe teams, we could see multiple 10 or 11 win teams in the NFC not make the playoffs.
Yeah, one of the teams could come out of the West. I'm thinking Seattle to win the West.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Seattle too. I like Russell Wilson to be the MVP of the league. So.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to sit here and debate that one. We both agree on that. Going to the North, I think it's got to be Green Bay still. That defense really improved last year. Yep. And A-Rod's still one of the best in the game.
Yep.
Yeah, San Francisco ran all over him. Mm-hmm. We don't have to tell them that.
But I think it gave them a roadmap for how to run their offense moving forward. Yeah. I think that's what you're going to see is a lot of Aaron Jones and this new guy,
the kid from Boston College.
Yeah, he's a big boy, and I know that the LaFleur is really in love with him. And
bang it out, kill the clock.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to run the ball the way that the Ravens run the ball, but they're going to run the ball significantly more than you're used to seeing Green Bay do so.
And then down in the South, the dirty, we'll call it. Oh, I can't believe we're going to say this. It pains me royally, but New Orleans, I think, is still the team to beat.
Yep.
I'm happy Tom's down there. I do think Tampa is that wild card team with a 10 or 11 wins. But that New Orleans team, they're a good football team. They've been right there the last 3 years.
Right.
A couple blown calls. We won't talk about that. They a little upset down there about that.
Yeah.
But I still think they're right there in the NFC, and I think that's where the South's going to go through.
Right.
I think they might even get home field.
Yeah. I mean, I can see New Orleans getting home field, no problem. As far as that division goes, I think Atlanta is going to be better than they were last year. I think it's easy to assume that the Bucs are going to be better. I could also see both of those teams being the 10-win teams that don't make the playoffs. Because I do think that 3 teams are going to come out of the West, with it being Seattle, LA, and San Fran. Mm-hmm. And the Vikings rounding it out at the bottom.
Yeah, and I think it's 3 from the South.
Yeah.
I think Atlanta takes that next step and they get going back to where they were a few years ago.
Right.
And Tampa went for broke.
Right.
I don't think they win the division though, unfortunately, but I think they are that wild card team.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think when we get to the AFC and the East, I'm still rolling with Bill. and with the Patriots.
Yeah.
They find wins to win.
Right.
They won 10 games with Matt Castle.
Yeah.
Matt Castle, I don't think he won 10 games after he left New England.
Right.
And I will say Cam Newton's a 100% better quarterback than Matt Castle. That defense is still good. Stephon Gilmore's still there, shutting down guys on half the field.
Right.
And then once again, outside of the Bills, I think the Bills are at 9-17, maybe at 10-6. But that division's trash outside of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Jets maybe are going to be a little bit better, but I mean, everyone always believes that about the Jets. Yeah. And Miami, I don't think that they got any better, even though they spent some money.
Every year they say the Dolphins got better.
But this is the year that the Bills take the division. Not even to mention, this is the year that New England does not make the playoffs.
That's a bold prediction.
They do not make the playoffs
bold
this year.
Prediction already. Yeah. Down in the West, I'm going Kansas City. I don't know how you don't go to the defending Super Bowl champions. What Patty does down there is just unbelievable. Andy Reid's offense is easily one of the best in the game. So I'm not even going to sit here and talk and bang, like, go on why I need to talk about Kansas City. Everybody knows how good they are.
Well, and here we go. So here we go again. Here comes another curveball, because I think not only will the Broncos win that division, they are going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC.
You're going to make me drink more talking like that.
And when it comes down to it, they improve their running game, which was already good. They have Drew Lock going into second year as a starter. He only started the final 5 games last year, but he was 4-1. And their defense is significantly improved. And their schedule is a little bit easier than Kansas City's. So they're going to have the fringe games where they can get over. I don't think that Denver is a Super Bowl team. I don't think that they're going to even win a playoff game. But they will win the division. They will be the number 1 seed. And, I mean, Kansas City will still end up going farther than them in the playoffs. But that's where we are.
Now in the North, it's going to get you fired up, but I'm going to go with Baltimore. Just what they're doing down there is just changing the game.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Lamar Jackson. I'm not a huge fan of him. But the guy can play football, but that being said, he puts himself in a position to get injured.
Right.
And if he stays healthy, though, I don't see anybody winning that division except for Baltimore.
Right. Well, I think Baltimore has a little bit of a harder schedule than the Steelers, and that's who I'm going to go with. And yes, I am a Steelers fan, but I think that the fringe games, Baltimore is going to have to play against Kansas City. Pittsburgh doesn't. If you think New England is still going to be good, Baltimore has to play against them. Baltimore has to play against the Titans, and I mean that's gonna be tough for them. I mean that could be the difference. I could see the Ravens and the Steelers having the same record, and the Steelers winning the tiebreaker.
And last in the South, down the AFC, I think it's gonna be Houston.
Yeah. I mean Deshaun Watson has something to play for, and I understand that they've moved D-Hop out of there, but they're still the team to beat, and the Titans are good, and
you stop the run, you stop.
Yeah.
You can load the box.
The division's a little better now that Rivers is in with the Colts.
Just what does he have left?
Yeah, I mean, what does he have left? And I mean, even in his prime with a good team in San Diego, he didn't make it anywhere anyway.
No.
Now I could see the Colts being in the playoffs. I just don't think that they're a difference maker.
All right, next topic. Kind of a weird situation. You have a guy who could be a Hall of Famer one day.
Yeah.
Just get cut over a scuffle in practice, which scuffles happen every year in practice.
Yeah.
So what made this one so different? Earl Thomas we're talking about, if anybody's not knowing what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, our understanding is that it was over a coverage and a blown coverage, and I don't know if it was a double coverage, but if anybody knows about double coverage, it would be Earl Thomas for sure, because,
2-on-1, right? You got to double team it?
Yeah. So, I think that Baltimore is kind of playing with fire by doing this. Now, I understand if you don't want a guy in your locker room, but you've let Tony Jefferson walk, and now you've let Earl Thomas go. That's the entire back half of your defense from last year. And Jefferson definitely missed some time last year because he got hurt, but you're losing the 2 guys that are your signal callers, and you're going to cut Earl Thomas over what Chuck Clark says. I had never even heard that name before, and I watch all the Ravens and Steelers games. So I think that he's going to sign somewhere. I mean, there's no doubt that he's going to
find a home.
Yeah. There's a place with the big giant star in the middle of the field where that would make sense for him to be.
It's where he wanted to go from when he left Seattle.
Yeah, and McCarthy seems to think that no, we're good. But Jerry signs the checks,
and Jerry said, whoever said we're out of this game is completely wrong.
Yeah. So I mean, as long as Jerry's calling the shots there, you never know what's going to happen.
And I can see Jerry making that play. Like
exactly,
he needs to win.
Yeah, I mean,
it's been 27 years almost. 27 years.
Yeah,
that they've won a Super Bowl. That's a long time in Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, and for Dallas, if they don't want him, whoever, next man up. But if he can't find a job as a safety anywhere, he could always go sign with the Titans and be the fullback. Because I know that he has some experience lead blocking for Derrick Henry.
All right, man. Last but not least, this is probably more of a fun question for both of us. What are you looking forward to this year going into the season, I guess?
It's been a crazy year. 2020 has been a crazy year. So I'm looking forward to something that I would consider normal, which is turning on the TV on Sundays, Thursdays, and Mondays, sitting down, watching football. Yes, there might not be fans in the stands, but I usually watch the game anyway. I don't really care what the fan experience is. I could see why it would affect a player. It's not going to affect the way that I watch it. So I'm looking forward to the normalcy of football being back.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of with you on that. I think pretty much anybody who likes sports right now is like, hey, I know hockey's great. I know basketball's back, but football's the one sport that brings everybody together. So it's kind of that's what I want. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
It's probably as far as fantasy sports go, it is the number one fantasy sport in the world.
Right.
And a lot of guys, that's what they watch football for, is that aspect of it.
Right.
What I'm looking forward to more than anything is just Super Bowl Sunday, man. It's down in Tampa. I have a chance of my home team being down there. Wishful thinking, I know. We spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing Tampa make a play again.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've been in the playoffs, let alone won a playoff game. That's what I'm looking forward to. So pretty much, I guess we got to sit back and wait and see what goes on next.
Yeah. So, that's it. So,
From going
there's
for
the first episode down.
Cheers.